Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you guys a Game Week 2 wildcard team that I would go into Game Week 2 with if I was on the wildcard. I'll share a couple of things that I would consider before hitting the chip, and also how the team looks like, followed by a bit of tinkering to show you guys how the team will navigate the next few game weeks as well. So hopefully those of you who are on this strategy enjoy the video, and if you do, please do drop a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So let's take a look at the graphic here that I have, and I'm going to consider a couple of things here, especially for those of you on a Game Week 2 wildcard. I would think this is relevant. So I think it's important to consider that only one game week has passed, and we've already seen that only in one game week alone, so much information can be learned. So many players have suddenly become non-options, or players that we thought would be slightly more nailed have become no longer nailed. So one game week of information is so much. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that if you wait one more week, for example, if your team is not really in need of it and you wait one more week, there could potentially be more information to be gained, and thereafter, if you wildcard in maybe game week 3, you could have more information on your hands. So something to consider is that likely your game week 1 team isn't doing too badly as well. So it is important to just be patient in general, to let your assets kind of have time to return. Whether it's accumulating a lot of XG and thereafter not returning, and then you're frustrated with them. Generally, you need to give your assets a bit of time. So I would say be patient with them. But then again, I would also say that you should only use your wildcard if there are many issues you see everywhere in your team. Say for example, you have Barco in defense, you have Kwanzaa in defense, you also have a couple of other options in defense that aren't great as well. Let's say your midfield is a mess. Up front, say for example, up front you also don't have Haaland for game week 2 against Ipswich, where you want to captain him, as well as your other strikers not being good options. Then by all means, the likelihood honestly is that it's not going to be a case where it's very clear cut you should use your wild card. I think for most of you guys who are on this strategy, you would be more kind of considering whether there's upside to going with it. Say for example, if your team is really not optimized for game week 2. So I think really only if you have many issues, then I would use the wild card. But if not, I think there is value in saving it for later game weeks. Now, if you are using your wild card, then I do advise that you plan long term with it, because the next time you would actually have a wild card is in the second half of the season after game week 19. So basically, you have to navigate quite a number of game weeks with only this wildcard in hand. So I think you have to plan at least for 8 to 12 game weeks ahead, and this wildcard would generally be able to do that. So planning ahead is important if you are wildcarding here. So do keep that in mind. And 8 to 12 game weeks is the kind of time frame that I would look at. A couple of players to avoid: Nkunku, Barco, and Kwanzaa. I think currently if you're on a wildcard for game week 2, there is a bit too much of a risk with Nkunku, given that he was taken off at the 62nd minute. I think, for what it's worth, he's in my team. I think there's obviously a chance that he could, against easier oppositions, because he played Man City in game week 1. Against easier oppositions, he could very well be playing more minutes, provided that, Chelsea are doing well. And obviously, Maresca is in a situation where, he's building up Nkunku's minutes as well. So I don't see it as a case where he's a hard avoid, but at least if I'm on a game week 2 wildcard, I just not want to deal with that at all. And in fact, Chelsea's attack, we have yet to see them play against slightly weaker teams, but their attack currently, based on what we saw yesterday, is also not firing on all cylinders. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to avoid Nkunku. And then for Barco and Kwanzaa, both of them have no longer have become non-options basically. Barco didn't start, and Kwanzaa got hooked at halftime due to tactical reasons. So both of them avoids as well. Now, I still do think, like on a game week 2 wildcard, I would only consider a single premium draft. Now, a bit of context I would say is that I was looking at the single premium drafts, the points that they've scored so far. I think it's worth noting as well that I'm recording this before the Spurs and Leicester game. But looking at the points so far, the single premium drafts aren't differing too much from the Salah plus Haaland drafts, simply because for those who have gone for example Salah plus Haaland, and say for example they have Trent as well, they won't have a Saka in midfield. and they won't have those points there. If they have Saka in midfield, they probably don't have Trent, and Trent also got a good number of points in game week 1. So overall, as I've been saying all preseason, the single premium draft I feel would do slightly better because of the balance overall and the potential rotations that you can have, as compared to a slightly more rigid double premium draft in Salah and Haaland. So for this game week 2 wildcard, I would still be on a single premium strategy, and I would kind of advise that for those of you on a game week 2 wildcard as well. And just to note, the teams with the best fixtures, I'm covering it slightly here, but it's Chelsea, Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Fulham. So we do have to make sure we have some teams to target from these teams that do have a good run of fixtures. We're looking at the long term here, and Chelsea, Aston Villa, Liverpool, Fulham are the teams to target. So this is the game week 2 wild card. I've used all 100 million of the money into this squad. It's also worth noting that if you are set on the strategy, make sure that you activate the chip early and obviously get these players in, because likely the players that you would be wanting to bring into your teams are going to rise in price soon. You just don't want to be in a position where you can't afford them after price rises. So if you are on the strategy and you're set on it, make sure to activate your chip and just load a kind of a structured template into your team before you actually play around and make other changes later on in the week if you do want to. So 100 million on this squad. Formation is a 3-4-3 formation. Now, big picture, looking at this squad, I would say that it is a single premium draft. As I've mentioned, Haaland is the one that I've chosen here, simply because he is the one that is playing Ipswich this week at home as well. So last week it was Salah playing Ipswich away. He obviously scored a double-digit haul there, 14 points for Salah. This week it's Haaland who is the one who has Ipswich, and this time it's at the Etihad as well. I do foresee a very heavy scoreline for Man City and Ipswich there. I could see Haaland definitely scoring a hat-trick, for example. So captaining him would be the play, right? Having him in the wild card and captaining him. Now, aside from that, I've also gone for triple Man City here in Vardiol and Kevin De Bruyne. So if they are playing Ipswich at home, and obviously the next few fixtures for them are pretty good as well. From game week 2 all the way to game week 4, they're pretty much a sea of green fixtures for them. I foresee this run of fixtures being very good for all these three Man City players. And just to speak on Gvardiol, he did kind of edge into the bonus points a little bit in game week 1 until Edison made that save. So basically, after Edison made a last minute save from Enzo Fernandez's shot, that kind of put him on three saves, and therefore got him an extra save point, and thereafter that pushed Gvardiol down as well, and then Kovacic getting a goal also pushed Gvardiol further down. So say for example, Kovacic did not score that goal, Gvardiol would have been the one that was on 2 bonus points. So I think non-Vardiol owners like myself as well, like I don't have him in my team, but we kind of got away with that one. On another day, I see Vardiol getting those bonus points, and also this time it's against Ipswich, it's not against Chelsea anymore. I don't imagine he needs to play very defensively. I think he could go all out, and we could see what happened kind of towards the end of last season where he was bombing forward so much and getting those attacking returns. So I think Vardiol definitely one of the first few picks in this game week 2 wildcard. A slightly more differential pick would be Kevin De Bruyne. He's in this squad here because he played 90 minutes against Chelsea. What that kind of signals to me is that he has the fitness to play a 90-minute game. If not, Pep would not have done so with him. His injury record is just not good. So if he was not up to full fitness at least, or able to play up to 90 minutes, I don't see Pep kind of doing that, especially with the fact that they were already winning. I don't see Kevin De Bruyne needing to play a full 90 minutes if he wasn't able to. So I'm quite sure that he is up to full fitness, and thereafter I think he would be starting these next few games. And he is a mega differential. If he starts against Ipswich, I see De Bruyne feeding Haaland loads of goals. Many points would be coming for De Bruyne as well. So I think he's a very good differential to have on a Game Week 2 wildcard. And I do think like his minutes would be quite secure for Game Week 2. Right? Even for the next few game weeks, if he manages to stay injury-free, I do see him starting as well. In fact, looking at the minutes that he got against Chelsea, I'm more confident of De Bruyne starting than I am of Foden starting. For Liverpool attackers, you do have to cover their fixtures as well, because I did mention that they are one of those teams to target. I have Trent here, definitely have to have him, and then Jota here is to kind of cover the Liverpool attack, which I do think will see some goals. They have 3 home games in the next 4 fixtures, and those are easy games as well. So I do see Liverpool scoring quite a bit. Jota looking very, very sharp as well, and it seems as if he has kind of nailed down that number 9 spot, at least a starting kind of spot for him, and then maybe he gets hooked at about 80th minute or 75 minutes for someone like GW2 for example. But even in those kind of 75 minutes, I see Jota getting returns. So Brentford at home, definitely expecting things from him. In terms of the other double ups that I've gone for, it's also Robinson here and Muniz. Fulham also a team to target. They are actually third on the fixture ticker for the next 6 game weeks. So Robinson, he's very attacking. I don't expect a lot of clean sheets for Fulham, but they have a good run, so the fixtures are there for them. And Robinson, even if he does not keep a clean sheet, is very capable of getting attacking returns. For Muniz up front, he covers the kind of Fulham attack. And then opposite him is also Chris Wood, who did pick up a goal in game week 1. Yes, Nottingham Forest attack did not look super good, but I think Chris Wood is just someone that's very, very clinical and kind of a bit of a poacher. He does not need to have very good chances to score. He's kind of always at the right place at the right time, and I guess that is kind of his knack for goals. So I do think like having Chris Wood and Muniz is kind of what enables De Bruyne, the De Bruyne pick in midfield, because both of them are only 6 million. Now, for the other players that I haven't mentioned, it is Saka and Eze. Saka, I still want an Arsenal player. You saw how good they were, and Saka was just exceptional. So he's on penalties as well. I don't see Saka, leaving my own squad. Like, I'm not on a wild card. I have Saka in my own team, and I don't see myself taking him out whatsoever. And then Eze is a very kind of unlucky player to not have scored more points in game week 1 because he took 7 shots, 3 on target if I'm not wrong, and those were quality shots as well. He even put the ball in the net, and which was disallowed because the referee blew the whistle before the ball had kind of entered the goal. So really unlucky for Eze owners. On another day, I think he gets a haul there. He could have scored 2 goals as well. So Eze, for me, I think the signs of how attacking he is are still there. And in terms of the fixtures, they are also there for him. It's West Ham at home in game week 2, and the next few as well aren't bad at all. So there we go with the outfielders. For the keepers as well, I've gone for Henderson in goal still. I mean, not a fan of the 4.5 million keepers, but when you look at what it enables up front, De Bruyne, Saka, Eze, Jota, Wood, Haaland, Muniz, and then you have 2 premium defenders as well, and 1 4.5 in Robinson. I think it just makes so much sense to just take the money out of the goalkeepers and just hope Henderson keeps a clean sheet against West Ham or any of the other teams that Crystal Palace play against. They aren't the worst defensively. They did not put up a very good performance against Brentford. I think they're capable of much better. So hopefully they start to pick up in the next few game weeks. It's Valdemarson on the bench. Don't imagine we'll be using him. And then for the outfielders on the bench, it's Morgan Rogers, who in my opinion is the best 5.0 million pick because he played a full 90 minutes for Aston Villa. We did not imagine that he would get so many minutes under Unai Emery for the first game, but there we go. I mean, we see the confidence that Emery has in Rodgers, and I quite like that because at 5 million, he's going to be a very good enabler. And the Villa fixtures, they are also a team to target. The Villa fixtures after this Arsenal game for them in game week 2 are so good. So if Rodgers is truly nailed, he could be a game breaker at 5 million. So he looked quite sharp as well, attackingly, so I think returns could be coming for him. And then the other 2 defenders on the bench are Harwood Bellis and Greaves from Ipswich. Both of them 4 million defenders. I doubt we will be using them much. So there we go with this squad. A full 100 million on all these players. I think it is quite tempting, especially for those of you who are quite far away from this squad. I think there are upsides to this draft, namely Kevin De Bruyne against Ipswich. I don't think a lot of people would have him. And he could be quite the big differential as well. So let me know what you guys think of this team. And let's take a look now at the next few game weeks and how I intend to shift this team around if I went into game week 2 with this wildcard draft. So I've loaded this team into the Fantasy Football Hub Transfer Planner. It has given a team rating, a couple of predicted points, and also a game week specific rating. If you guys are interested in this, if you're on a strategy as well and you want to load your own wildcard in, you can use the link in the description to check out and rate your own team as well. There's also a very cool feature that you can just take a screenshot on the FPL app or on the FPL website and you can upload your draft into the Fantasy Football Hub tool, and it immediately loads your 15 players. So that's what I've done with this team as well. I've just imported the screenshot, and there we go with these 15 players. So I want to navigate a little bit as to looking at how the fixtures for these kind of players that we'll be going with will kind of look for the next few game weeks. So for game week 2, it's exactly as shown in the graphic just now, so nothing too much to discuss. But come game week 3, I want to discuss the fixtures here. So Henderson has Chelsea away. Again, this is not the great fixture for Crystal Palace, but obviously we are looking for a 4.5 million keeper that will keep clean sheets over the long haul. And over the long haul, I think I do kind of still trust Crystal Palace's defense. We are hoping that they would do better. But yeah, he has Chelsea away in game week 3. That is not ideal. But aside from that, everyone else looks pretty good. It's Gavardio who has West Ham away, Trent who has West Ham away, and Robinson has Ipswich away. In fact, I don't really agree with this AI rating of giving Robinson 3.3 predicted points only for game week 3. I think he could very well do more than that. And then for midfield, Eze has Chelsea away, but that is still, when you look at the predicted points, a fixture that they predict Eze doing well in, and Chelsea defensively just aren't good. So even though they are a team to target, I have not included any Chelsea players in this squad, let alone touch any of their defenders. And then for De Bruyne has West Ham away. Saka has Brighton at home, very good home fixture for him. Jota has Manchester United away, but I'm sure that we would be fine starting a Liverpool attacker against Manchester United. And then up front, it's good fixtures as well. Haaland with West Ham away, Muniz has Ipswich away, and Chris Wood has Wolves at home. So good fixtures for game week 3. Now let's take a look at game week 4, and I think this is where we would make our first transfer for this wild card, and that transfer would be Chris Wood out for João Pedro, which is when João Pedro has Ipswich at home. So it's a perfect timing because that's when Chris Wood has a tough fixture. We swap him out for João Pedro, who has a decent run, a good game week 4 and 5 fixture. So after that move, bearing in mind that you would have gone game week 2 and game week 3 without making, game week 2 you would use your wild card. So game week 3 you have not made any transfers. And in game week 4, you would have 2 free transfers, but you would only be using 1 on this Chris Wood transfer. And after that transfer, the team looks so good. It's Leicester at home for Henderson, Vario has Brentford at home, it's Nottingham Forest at home for Trent, and West Ham at home for Robinson. In midfield, it's great fixtures as well. Probably only Saka with Tottenham away. But aside from that, I think it's great fixtures all round. And even in that Tottenham away fixture, Saka could do well. And then Haaland, Muniz, and João Pedro up front all have great fixtures. So you really wouldn't need to be using your bench very much. But again, Rodgers here on the bench has Everton away, and the fixtures are there for them. When you look at Rodgers, you can't really see the game weeks because it's kind of cropped out, but I'll read it out. From game week 3 onwards, it's Leicester away, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away, Manchester United at home, Fulham away. It's a sea of green fixtures for Rodgers. So honestly, if ever there's a need to kind of rotate, you could very well just do that. So I like the look of this wild card coming into game week 2. And again, for me, the big differential here would be Kevin De Bruyne, which I think a lot of people would not be able to get if they weren't on a wildcard. So let me know what you think of this team. If you're on a wildcard, I'd be keen to know the players that I don't have that you have in your teams and why you are kind of prioritizing them. So let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like. Please do subscribe as well. Loads more content coming. Tomorrow we will have the stats breakdown. So that will be a new series on this channel where we look at all the data relevant to the game week to help us kind of make our decisions as well. So it'll be a very useful video, I hope. So do keep a lookout for that one, but if not, I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.